This is episode 1 of the Kindle Vella series called Worlds Unraveled. Episode 1 is titled The Declaration of War. All these are free on Kindle Vella. The first 3 episodes are always free on Kindle Vella. After that, you have to pay with tokens. So it starts out. Our world was unlike any other. It was filled with buildings that intertwined with nature, and it was like the planet itself was made for us. People on my planet could live for hundreds of years, and years of peace seemed to go on forever. But then, out of nowhere, the conflicts across arose from a small nation in the eastern part of our world. Our world was only filled with 3 main nations: the Creeds, the Muses, and the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were not from this world. They had landed on our world a few decades ago with new ideas and ways for our people to test out. At first, it seemed like they had good intentions, but recently, they started to create problems and conflicts among my nation, the Muses, and the Creeds. You see, the Creeds believe in living a very strict lifestyle, one of solidarity and meditation. My nation was built on having multiple intimate relationships and building huge families, as well as we believed in constantly innovating our technology to the next greatest thing. The Creeds, on the other hand, believed the technology was evil and that everyone should live a life of farming and protecting the land. Neither lifestyle is entirely right, of course, but the Anunnaki convinced the people of my world that they had a way that could combine both beliefs into one, and it seemed like all our problems would be fixed until people started going missing en masse, and they would return in huge piles of mass graves found all over the planet. Of course, both sides blamed one another, not even thinking that the Anunnaki were capable of such killings, but it was a part of their rituals to their gods, and they had done this to many worlds far and wide. These events that had started will become the downfall of my world. My name is Captain John R. Rapid, and I am from the planet Mars. It's probably not the Mars you know of, but the events told in this story are what turned it into the red planet that you see today. The war started with a terrorist attack, as so many wars often do. The events of that day still ring in my heart. You see, at the center of one of the main cities in the Muses Nation, there's a large tower that staggers impressive 605 feet. The bottom layers of the tower were financial offices, like stock market offices you have in New York City. But the top was an observation deck that literally could see miles on end. The capital city this building stood in was a moray. It had many different buildings and 6 main rings that surrounded this building in the middle. Each ring was about 10 miles long. The first and most outer ring was the security, police, fire, and community service ring. The second most outer ring was the industrial area where most of the factories for a moray were located. The third outer ring was the commercial area where you could go to get quick fast food from restaurants and shop for groceries. Then came the residential park area, and the fourth outermost ring where low-class residents lived, and huge parks encompassed the area, as well as several more sit-down type restaurants. The third outermost ring was all middle to high-class residential, and the second ring was all high and luxury commercial properties. I had a favorite restaurant there called Muses of the Muse. They would host all types of events every week, but the cost to eat here was around $100 a plate. Then there was the innermost ring where the tower itself stood and a couple of tourist attractions. The attack on the city began late in the afternoon. At the time, I was stationed at a nearby military base as an Inceptor pilot. I had been serving my country for over 3 years at the time. And today seemed like it was going to be another day of running routine flight patterns and drills. But around dusk, the alarms in the pilot barracks went off with red flashes. An announcer came overhead. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Radar has confirmed 5 unknown objects heading for the center of a moray, due in about 1 hour. All inceptors and extra pilots are expected to man aircraft and intercept the unknown objects. It is said that there might be hostiles on board. Be prepared." So, four other pilots and I strapped on our uniforms and rushed to our aircraft. Engines were fired up as the smell of freshly fueled aircraft blasted out onto the concrete runways. The tension between the Muses and the Creeds had been growing every week, with different meetings between the two leaders and increasing threats between the two nations. The only object that was between the landmasses of the Muses and the Creeds was an ocean that went around the planet. The landmass that the Muses inhabited was shared with the Anunnaki. When they first landed, the Creed made it known that they did not want their meditation disturbed by the machinery that the Anunnaki had brought with them. What many people thought, though, was that the Creed were too dumb to have an army of aircraft, or let alone even know how to build aircraft. Here was the fatal flaw of our nation. The Creed had aircraft that was almost the level of our aircraft before the Anunnaki arrived. Of course, what we didn't know is the Creed was secretly working with the Anunnaki to improve their military and aircraft, as the Creed believed what the Anunnaki had told them when they had asked the Anunnaki what was happening to all their people. The Anunnaki simply told them, "We personally saw the Muses taking people into a lab and rolling out bodies after a couple weeks and dumping them into the mass graves." That's all the Creeds needed to hear. The Anunnaki knew this would result in war. But you see, the Anunnaki was a group of people bent on one thing: harvesting energy from catastrophic events of different worlds. That energy, of course, being nuclear energy. As we flew to the interception of the unidentified objects, we could not believe our eyes. Not only were the objects in question an array of fighter jets, but each of the jets was equipped with bombs that would devastate an entire city. This was not a single city attack. This was a declaration of war and a saying of, "We will destroy your entire nation or one of your cities today." Not only this, but each jet had been modified with hypersonic speed and an engine that we were not going to be able to build for years. There were 5 of us and 5 of them, but before they could even start their thrusters to execute their mission, we shut down about 4 of the jets, which landed on farms not too far from the coastal city of Legions. But one jet managed to get through our bullets in attack formations. The jet ignited with a blue light as the thrusters returned to hypersonic within seconds. The sky turned from blue to red. We lost millions that day, and the city of Amore was lost forever. The bomb was not nuclear, but it was enough for our leader to claim this as a tragedy and promise that there would be retaliation. As I made a sharp turn from the epicenter and outranged the bomb with the speed of the jet, I heard one of my fellow pilots, Amelia, come over comms. "Is anyone alive? Was that the Creed?" "President Amelia." "Yes, it was. Saw the flag on one of the jets we took down. Never thought they were capable of those kind of speeds," I responded. There was dead silence. We were the first 2 to get back to a military base near the coastal city of Legions, around 100 miles from the terrorist attack that had just occurred. There we found members of our old military base and them watching televised and broadcasted videos of what happened throughout the day. The sorrow on everyone's face was evident enough that this was a tragedy that our nation had not faced in decades. The peace that had been upheld by our nations for so many years was finally over. This was the beginning of war times. If you want to read more of the story or read it for yourself, it'll be on Amazon and Amazon Kindle Vella. The title of it is Worlds Unraveled, The Story of Mars by Austin Pullen, Pullen.